Over 3,000 years have passed, yet the story of Pharaoh Tutankhamun still haunts, igniting a deep curiosity and fear in every soul. A young king who ruled for a short time, leaving a profound legacy not only because of his lavish treasures, but also due to his mysterious death and the terrifying curse that followed. A tomb that holds not only priceless artifacts, but also a key to secrets never before revealed. Was the death of Tutankhamun truly the result of an ancient curse, or just a series of strange coincidences? Join us as we uncover in today's video, where history meets the supernatural, and the truth may be darker than the legends. In 1922, one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century took place when British archaeologist Howard Carter uncovered the tomb of the young Pharaoh Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings, Egypt. Unlike most tombs from this era, which had been looted over the centuries, Tutankhamun's burial site remained nearly intact, offering the world a priceless archaeological treasure trove. Inside the tomb, archaeologists discovered approximately 5,000 artifacts, including many exquisite valuables such as golden statues, jewelry, ancient weapons, intricately crafted furniture, and most notably, the mummy of Tutankhamun himself, a pharaoh who ascended the throne as a young boy and died at the age of around 18 or 19. Among the most iconic items found was the solid gold funerary mask, masterfully carved and now considered a symbol of ancient Egypt. This groundbreaking discovery sent shockwaves around the globe, sparking an unprecedented level of interest in ancient Egyptian civilization. Images, stories, and artifacts from the tomb quickly spread through newspapers and museums, igniting a worldwide fascination known as Egyptomania, a cultural craze for all things Egyptian that swept across the 1920s. This phenomenon extended far beyond the realm of archaeology, making a lasting impact on popular culture. It deeply influenced film, architecture, visual art, and fashion, embedding ancient Egypt into the imagination of the modern world. Tutankhamun, often referred to as the boy king of ancient Egypt, is one of the most famous pharaohs in history, not because of great military victories or remarkable achievements during his reign, but due to the enduring mystery surrounding his brief life and the astonishing discovery of his nearly intact tomb after thousands of years buried beneath the sands of time. Tutankhamun ascended to the throne at just 8 or 9 years old, succeeding his father Akhenaten, a controversial pharaoh known for his radical religious reforms. Akhen attempted to dismantle Egypt's traditional polytheistic beliefs in favor of worshiping a single deity, the sun god Aten. However, following his death, the court quickly restored the old religious order. Tutankhamun, still a child and unable to govern independently, was largely seen as a figurehead used by royal advisors to re-establish traditional power structures. The young pharaoh died at around 18 or 19 years old, leaving behind a series of unanswered questions about the cause of his death. Before the tomb's dramatic discovery in 1922, Tutankhamun's name had all but vanished from historical records. He left behind no grand monuments or epic tales of conquest. However, the incredible state of preservation of his burial site reignited global interest and elevated him to legendary status in the annals of Egypt's history. Modern research, especially DNA analysis and CT scans of his mummy, has shed new light on the pharaoh's condition. Due to generations of royal inbreeding, Tutankhamun suffered from numerous congenital health problems, including a clubfoot and spinal abnormalities. Traces of malaria were also found in his remains, and it is now believed that his death may have resulted from complications related to illness or injury, rather than assassination, a theory once widely speculated. His short life, mysterious death, and the treasure-laden tomb buried with him have made Tutankhamun one of the most iconic and enigmatic pharaohs of ancient Egypt. The discovery and excavation of Tutankhamun's tomb not only yielded remarkable archaeological finds, but also sparked significant controversy, particularly regarding the handling of the young pharaoh's mummy. Howard Carter, the lead archaeologist behind the excavation, was heavily criticized for actions deemed to be disrespectful and too brutal towards the royal remains. Upon discovering Tutankhamun's mummy, encased in layers of tree resin and embalming substances that had hardened over time, Carter and his team faced immense difficulty in extracting the body from its golden sarcophagus. Rather than waiting for gentler techniques or more advanced methods, they resorted to using knives, crowbars, and heat to separate the layers. They even had to cut off the head and limbs of the mummy to remove the body in pieces, primarily to access the jewelry and gold buried with the pharaoh. These actions resulted in permanent damage to the mummy and sparked criticism from the archaeological community in later years. One of the most puzzling aspects for researchers was the unusually dark color of Tutankhamun's mummy. Initially, some believed the body had been burned, but modern analysis suggests that the discoloration was likely caused by a chemical reaction between the embalming fluids and the hot Egyptian climate, which caused the body to be slightly cooked in the sealed sarcophagus over thousands of years. Another mystery surrounding the burial rituals was the missing heart of Tutankhamun. In ancient Egyptian mummification, the heart was considered the center of the soul and was crucial for the journey to the afterlife. Its absence from Tutankhamun's body continues to fuel speculation and theories regarding the young pharaoh's death and the unusual circumstances surrounding his burial. After the discovery of the nearly intact tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun in 1922 by British archaeologist Howard Carter, not only did the immense wealth and grandeur of the treasures inside shock the world, but so did the eerie stories surrounding the so-called Pharaoh's curse. Rumors quickly spread. Anyone who dared disturb the eternal rest of the young king would suffer dire consequences. Initially, Carter did not believe in such superstitions. He was a practical man with a scientific approach to archaeology. However, strange occurrences and the sudden deaths of those involved led even the most skeptical to question the claims. One of the first signs thought to foretell the curse happened on the very day the tomb was discovered. Carter's pet canary, which was considered a symbol of good luck, was eaten by a cobra that slithered into the house. This was peculiar, as the cobra was a royal symbol of Egypt, often depicted on pharaohs' crowns, and even more unsettling because a statue of Tutankhamun in the tomb wore a crown with a similar serpent motif. However, the incident that truly fueled rumors of the curse was the death of Lord Carnarvon, the financial backer of the excavation. A few months after entering the tomb with Carter, Carnarvon was bitten by a mosquito on his face. The bite became severely infected, and he died in agony in Cairo. The strange part was that Tutankhamun's mummy also bore a similar wound on the left cheek. When Carnarvon died, the entire city of Cairo inexplicably lost power, a coincidence that only added to the growing myth. Carnarvon's death wasn't an isolated incident. A series of others involved in the excavation also met untimely and strange deaths. George J. Gould, an American millionaire who had visited the tomb, later died from a high fever. Arthur Mace, a member of the archaeological team, died of arsenic poisoning, an uncommon and rare cause of death under normal circumstances. Carter's personal secretary was murdered in a violent attack, and even the driver of the excavation team died in a mysterious car accident. It wasn't just humans who seemed affected by the curse. Lord Carnarvon's beloved dog, who was thousands of miles away, howled in pain and died at the exact moment of his master's passing. An additional element that fueled belief in the curse was the existence and subsequent disappearance of an ancient ceramic tablet. According to some unofficial records, this tablet was found inside the tomb and bore an inscription warning, "Death will strike those who disturb the sacred rest of the supreme ruler." However, no one knows where this tablet is now or whether it ever truly existed, adding to the mystery and legend surrounding the curse. Since the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, the world has been captivated not only by the wealth and magnificence of the treasures inside, but also by the eerie tales surrounding the so-called Pharaoh's curse. According to legend, anyone who dares disturb the eternal rest of the young king would suffer a tragic death. However, over time, many scientists and experts have voiced their disagreement, suggesting that the curse is merely a product of imagination, fear, and coincidences. Instead of accepting the curse as a supernatural force, modern science has proposed several plausible explanations for the strange deaths linked to the excavation. One credible theory suggests that the sealed, humid environment inside the tomb was ideal for mold growth, particularly the Aspergillus flavus fungus. This fungus produces aflatoxins that are highly toxic, damaging the liver, impairing the immune system, and potentially leading to death if inhaled over prolonged periods. A similar case was recorded in Poland when scientists studying the tomb of King Kazimierz IV died from exposure to this fungus. Apart from environmental factors, psychological effects are also believed to play a significant role in forming beliefs in the curse. The nocebo effect, where negative beliefs about something cause the body to respond unfavorably, might have contributed to symptoms of illness, health decline, or decreased performance. A fascinating study with archers showed that when they were primed to believe an object was cursed, their performance dropped significantly, even though no physical factors were involved. This demonstrates the powerful impact of negative beliefs on human physiology. Statistical facts also partially refute the idea of a deadly curse. Of the 58 people present when Tutankhamun's tomb was opened, only 8 died within the next 12 years, a number not unusual considering the mortality rate of the time. Howard Carter, who discovered the tomb and was central to the event, lived another 16 years and died of cancer at age 64, a life expectancy not particularly low. The death of Lord Carnarvon, the primary financier of the excavation, often cited as the clearest proof of the curse, can also be explained scientifically. He had suffered a severe car accident years prior, which weakened his immune system. When bitten by a mosquito, the wound became infected, and his body was unable to fight the infection, leading to his death. The coincidence of his death occurring when Cairo lost power, along with the death of his dog in England, was merely a series of strange events embellished by myth. Even the famous detail about the wound on Tutankhamun's mummy matching the mosquito bite that killed Carnarvon holds no weight in proving the curse. Many experts argue that this is simply a coincidence or a result of the mummification process rather than a sign of supernatural forces. The true origin of the Pharaoh's curse does not lie within the ancient stone walls or any mysterious inscriptions in Tutankhamun's tomb, but rather in modern journalism. When the tomb was discovered in 1922, the Times of London secured exclusive reporting rights from Howard Carter. This led other newspapers to feel left out, and in order to attract readers, they began fabricating sensational stories around the event. Thus, the legend of the Pharaoh's curse began to spread. Many sensational articles appeared, describing the unusual deaths of those involved in the excavation and attributing them to a supernatural force protecting the young king's eternal rest. One of the most famous lines said to be inscribed inside the tomb, "Death will come on swift wings to those who disturb the pharaoh's sleep," was never found in the tomb or any archaeological documents. In conclusion, although the stories of the pharaoh's curse have added to the mysterious allure of Tutankhamun's tomb, current scientific evidence shows that it is merely a myth shaped by coincidence, psychological fear, and sensationalized media. Instead of being a punishment from the afterlife, the deaths associated with the tomb can be reasonably explained by biological, psychological, and environmental factors. Thus, the curse is largely a product of imagination and media exaggeration, not an actual part of ancient Egyptian culture or belief. Despite many aspects being unraveled, Tutankhamun's tomb still holds numerous mysteries. One of the most perplexing aspects for researchers is the complete absence of the pharaoh's heart, a sacred organ in ancient Egyptian beliefs. This is an unusual occurrence in mummification practices, and the true reason for its absence remains unclear. Furthermore, the small size of Tutankhamun's tomb and the apparent rushed completion of its construction have raised questions about whether this was originally intended to be the final resting place of another royal figure. One theory widely supported by researchers is that the tomb may have initially been prepared for a different royal family member, but after Tutankhamun's sudden death at a young age, the tomb was repurposed for his burial. This practical reuse of the tomb could also symbolize the continuity and connection between generations of royalty, honoring and extending the legacy of ancient Egyptian history. Tutankhamun, the young pharaoh who ruled for a short period, has become a timeless symbol of ancient Egyptian civilization. Although he was nearly forgotten by history, his name was dramatically revived in the 20th century after the discovery of his nearly intact tomb. Since then, Tutankhamun has become famous not only for his magnificent treasures, but also for the image of a young king whose mysterious death has created global intrigue. A significant part of this fascination comes from the tales surrounding the so-called Pharaoh's curse. However, most modern scientists agree that the curse is merely a product of sensationalized media, coincidental events, and psychological factors such as the nocebo effect. No credible evidence has been found to suggest a supernatural force behind the deaths associated with the excavation. Nevertheless, the blend of historical mystery, the grandeur of ancient Egyptian civilization, and the eternal fascination with death has created a unique allure. The curse of Tutankhamun, though a legend, lives on in the public imagination, becoming an inseparable part of the compelling story of one of humanity's greatest archaeological discoveries.